Oh, Archtempered Arkveld is brutal. Okay, I can do this. Oh, I'm gonna cut. I'm just gonna cut. Am I gonna cut? Oh, I am going to cut. Or am I? Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen. Greatsword is having one hell of a good final anniversary update. Hello, my fellow wielders of Greatswordicus Maxicus, to give it its proper Latin name or something. I bid you welcome to this bittersweet moment, because, well, it's the last time until Master Rank that I'll be updating you on the best Greatsword build possible. Arch-tempered Arkveld Armor, and even, yes, our beautiful Shatterseal Greatsword that we have been blessed with have made quite the impact. And I've got 5 different builds, depending on what you're wanting, from your pure min-max best, all the way to just nice, no RNG, and of course, all the way to, I want to use Shatterseal, I don't care about anything else, and I totally feel you on that. I've got you covered. So, yes, indeedy then. Archtempered Arkveld is a rider's greatsword. Like, he's very offset-friendly for the most part, but the combos, the ferocity, it's immensely satisfying learning him, getting better. And yes, that is Soul of the Dark Knight on my item bar. Why, you may ask? Well, because of Arch-tempered Arkveld Armor allowing us to do something quite special, there is a mathematical argument that 4-set Bale is now our best build.
I'm in a glass case of emotion!
I know. Stick with me. As always, you'll see my working. So without further ado then, let's get into this. So firstly, a quick blast at the armor. The standout piece for us on Greatsword is the helmet. That 3 weakness exploit with the ability to then decorate in either a max might or a counterstrike, which we obviously require, is such insane value. It's just covered in everything we enjoy. The rest of the pieces are no slouch, but we're not exactly chomping at the bit for convert element or element absorption, and while one rank of value flayer is decent, and indeed some of the builds today will have that, we're not desperate to get them from the armor itself. But more than that, Greatsword has a very strict requirement when it comes to its builds, in that we need to have 2-set Bale, something no other weapon does, and that kind of pushes in a certain direction and requires a certain configuration when it comes to our armor, and therefore what arch-tempered pieces we can actually choose. So we're not exactly going to be covered in arch-tempered Arkveld Armor, but we will certainly be using that delicious helmet. Of course then, let's address Shatterseal, our new beautiful greatsword courtesy of the weapon design contest. Now, obviously you're going to layer it on no matter what, but should you be using the real thing? Well, there's already a dedicated video up on the channel testing it, everything about it, comparing it to Gogma Artian, and most importantly going in depth on Shattering Reflection, the new skill, which is quite frankly absolutely insanely strong, so you can check that out. But the kind of TLDR is Shatterseal is better than a not perfect Gogma Artian, and indeed if you don't care about having RNG requirements, you don't want to have to get a specific set bonus on your Gogma Artian, you don't want to have a specific RNG talisman, Shatterseal is for you. And generally speaking, it'll do around 7% less damage than a min-maxed full perfect Gogma Artian best build, so if losing 7% damage is worth gaining the just delicious reality-cracking shattering charges, well then feel free to Shatterseal, and I of course will be including the best Shatterseal build if you want to do just that. But the TLDR is it doesn't dethrone Gogma Artian, which was expected, but it's actually so much closer thanks to Shattering Reflection than we ever thought possible, which is really exciting. So if you want to use it, don't feel bad about it at all, unless you're trying to really min-max your time on like the 10-star Arch-Tempered, etc. So with that out the way then, the best weapon to use remains your Gogma Artian. You want to element match the monster that you're fighting, but if you only want to do one, dragon is the best kind of catch-all, and you want to have yourself 4 attack reinforcements, 2 EX, and then a sharpness EX, and then all attack going into it, like before. You want Lord's Soul no matter what, and then depending on the build today you like the look of the most, you either want Soul of the Dark Knight, or Doshagama's Might as the other set bonus on it. So that's kind of standard from Title Update 4, and then the Arch-Tempered dahaad update, and the weapon decorations remain as they were, your 5 quick boost, and your focus, and your handicap. So let's talk armor. For a refresher then, this was the current best greatsword build in terms of pure mathematical damage output before this Arch-Tempered Arkveld update. Very lovely set of skills, and we rock the double set bonus of the required Soul of the Dark Knight, and then the nice 10 raw from offsets from Doshagama's Might. This gives us a really, really nice base to compare to, and as a reminder, the EFR of this was 568, which is meaty, and that doesn't include the extra Bale waves. So with that in mind then, let's go over the first of today's sets, which looks a little something like this. We've gained the Arc Vulcan Gamma Helmet, the AT Arkveld Helm there. That's kind of the sole swap. And what this lets you do, well, you'll find out when we decorate it. But this is one, of course, that needs Doshagama's Might to set, which is why we have the waist there. So on your Gogma Artian for this, like before, you want your Doshagama's Might and your Lord Soul. This gives us both Doshagama's Might, Soul of the Dark Knight 2 from the 2 Bale for our lovely damaging waves, and then Lord's Soul still from the AT Arkveld Helm, the AT Udra chest, and then the weapon. So when it comes to your talismans here, what you want ideally is a 1 rank of weakness exploit or a 1 rank of burst with 3 attack. That is kind of your goal. You can also technically get away with a rank of flayer and 3 attack for reasons you'll see in a moment. So let's decorate it up. Doing so gives us full weakness exploit, full latent power, counterstrike, maximum might. We've got a bunch of 1 slots for utility, and they can be whatever you like. Probably Divine Blessing if we're doing 10-star Arch-Tempered, let's be honest here. Or, of course, any kind of recovery, etc. And stamina and constitution for maximum might uptime is always good too. But basically then, this is the same skill list as the previous build. The only difference is that we have gained 1 rank of flayer. That's literally it, which you might think is a little bit anticlimactic, and I would agree with you if not for the build coming up that you saw me using at the beginning that uses 4 set Dark Knight, which is the real winner. But in terms of just straightforward, nothing funny happening, I just want a build and to hit things, this is our new best build in that regard, which means it has exactly the same EFR as before, which remains at 568. But it's 568 plus 1 rank of flayer, which is incredible value, admittedly. The damage it does is really nice since the buff, the proc frequency is good. This will add to your hunts and reduce your kill time. But of course, numerically speaking, it's not the most exciting thing in the world. But hey, an upgrade is an upgrade, and that's what we have here. So, next up. we have essentially exactly the same thing, but for those of you that prefer agitator to latent power. This one swaps away the latent power, it keeps some just because it's there as a bonus, and replaces it with the 4 agitator. Now this is worse, it's about 555 EFR versus the 568, but you don't have to think about latent power. Granted, as greatsword, you are taking damage from shoulder tackles and a lot of chip, and let's be honest here, we're not getting through these arch-tempered 10s without taking a hit, and a single hit from them a lot of the time is enough to just activate latent power. Uptime is not a problem, but I do know a lot of people like to not have it be a kind of main chunk of their damage, so this is what you would do for that. And if you're wanting to make this and the last build a non-RNG talisman version, you just put on the Agitator 3. In the previous build, that's it, you're done. In this one, you just then replace 2 of the Agitator decorations for 2 more latent power. Of course, that is worse than having attack 4, but that is your option. Alright, let's get on to the more exciting result. Thanks to Arch-Tempered Arkveld and his helmet, we can now do this, where Bale arms, waist, and legs, and then we get the 4 set from your Gogma Artian, which now has exactly the same everything as the previous builds, except you need to roll Soul of the Dark Knight instead of Doshagama's Might. This gives us the 4 set, while also letting us have Lord Soul in combination with the 2 Arch-Tempered pieces. So why would we want to have 4 set Bale plus Lord Soul instead of 2 set Bale plus 2 set Doshagama's Might? Well, firstly, you might be facing a monster that isn't very offsettable, but more importantly, because it actually equals more average DPS over the course of a hunt, while also giving you access to a really good defensive option and counter. The counter that also does a nice big chunk of damage. And why is that? Well, let's get it decorated up first and foremost. Now you'll notice that the skill list between this and the previous build is almost identical. What we've essentially done is trade Doshagama 2 set and the 1 rank of Flayer for 1 rank of Resentment and Bale 4 set. So we lose that 10 raw, and we lose that Flayer, but gain the Soul of the Dark Knight, the Blackest Knight counter. Now, Resentment matters in this build. It's worth around +5 raw with 3 ranks because we have a lot of red health, so we're only losing -5 raw from giving up Doshagama 2 set, but the real gain is with latent power uptime. Because using this counter just puts you to 1 health, that counts, and this essentially becomes the activate latent power button, which gives it really high reliability when it comes to your affinity. Not to mention that using this counter every time it's up is a nice little chunk of damage blasting off. You then gain permanent red health for the duration, which also means that you start healing every time you hit, which is really good, but you can combo it with something like an immunizer, which you definitely should drink if you choose to use this one, which will make your health absolutely zoom up like so. And during this entire time you have Resentment on at full value because you have to have red health until the buff runs out. So this is a really fun option that we can finally play around with thanks to the Arch-Tempered Arkveld helmet, letting us doing it without losing too many ranks of skills that inevitably make it not worth it. Now it is an incredibly viable alternative. And if you like the idea of playing with Blackest Knight, playing with that counter, having reliable latent power, then this is an incredibly strong, arguably best option. it's at minimum even with this new standard best build that we spoke about earlier, which has that 568 EFR, but plus a rank of flayer gained from Arch-Tempered Arkveld Helmet. So numerically speaking then, this comes out at 560 EFR, which is 8 less than the Doshagama version, which is a really tiny gap, like 1.2%. So it really comes down to if you, like honestly me, agree that the latent power uptime reliability, which mathematically speaking is realistically higher than 66% in this set, but I've left it at 66% at the maths. If I bump it up even to 70%, then this starts to take over. But if you agree the latent power reliability of the Blackest Knight, plus the extra burst of damage the Blackest Knight does, is better than that 8 EFR difference, well then, this is the set for you. Coupled with, of course, wanting to use the Blackest Knight. For me, I think they're very close. The raw damage of using each Blackest Knight probably is equal to the one flayer over the course of a hunt, so it really comes down to latent power uptime plus having the counter. And for me, I really like, well, both of those things. In any case, you can't go wrong with either. And if you want to make this one non-RNG talisman, again, you just put on the Agitator 3 charm and call it a day. Next up then, we have this. This is your build if you don't want to have any particular rolls on your Gogma Artian weapon. You just want to have the best build without needing to farm particular active skills. This is then very straightforward, because as Greatsword we need Lord Soul and we need 2 set Bale, so we have 2 set Bale and we have 3 Arch-Tempered pieces. The best ones to have are 2 of the new Arch-Tempered Arkveld ones, so yeah, the non-RNG option does get quite the upgrade. We gain a nice skill list, the full Wex Latent Power Counterstrike Maximum Might, with an extra 2 ranks of Flayer. We get that burst if you are using the RNG talisman, and the set bonuses that matter. Of course, this will do less damage than the others, but honestly, not by a huge amount. This is also the build to use Shatterseal if that's something you want to do, and Shatterseal, this build, and an RNG talisman, as I say, is only about 5 to 7% behind the previous 2 sets we've talked about. So if you want that cool glass effect, use this build with Shatterseal, and know you are really not losing a whole lot, especially if you're not really trying to push your hunts for that gain. And if you don't even want an RNG talisman, well then, this is where you end up. We have Bale, waist and boots, your Arch-Tempered Arkveld helm and gloves, and Arch-Tempered new Udra chest. Your talisman, you want it to be 3 latent power, and then decorations end up shaking out as such. We just have 1 3 slot left over here. I've whacked agitator in it, you can kind of do whatever you want, and then you've got a lot of 1 slots for utility, again, however you would like them. This then doesn't need any RNG whatsoever, the latent power 3 charm, and then a just nicely rolled Gogma Artian, as I said, or, of course, Shatterseal. This is your Shatterseal option with no RNG talisman too, and again, not hugely far behind. And it comes out at 536. Which compared to the previous completely no RNG build, well, it's 2 more, gain over 534 in that case. Which is obviously not the hugest DFR jump, but hey, we do get 2 flayer, so that adds a fair amount of damage over the hunt, which we previously didn't have. Honestly, for a non-RNG option, it really is solid. And again, this is your Shatterseal way of going. Just to really stress it home, being able to do these extra shattering bursts alongside Bale waves every hit having 3 chunky numbers is incredibly satisfying. The shatters from the weapon are a 0.45 motion value extra hit. That means it is affected by all of your build, it can crit, much like the Bale wave, is just really sweet, and it does add a hefty amount of damage. Again, not as good at using a perfect Gogma, but pretty damn close. I'd say this would beat everything below a 75% to 80% perfect Gogma, maybe even a little bit higher. So yeah, it really is impressive, as much as it is just absolutely gorgeous. And to be clear, if you just layer on the weapon, you don't get the shatter effect because that comes from the skill on the weapon, which is why you would want to actually use it in a build so you can have shattering reflection do the shatter effect. So there we have it then, your roundup of greatsword in a post-arch-tempered Arkveld world. If you want the pure, mathematically highest EFR min-max build, it is this. The old best build with the arch-tempered Arkveld helmet swapped in, which lets us get a rank of flayer. We keep Doshagama 2 set, which means you want Doshagama's might on your otherwise unchanged Gogma Artian, and then of course the Bale 2 set for the waves. If you want a little bit of agitator instead of latent power, knowing that it is going to be a little bit worse mathematically, this is the way to go, just a different setup with otherwise the same pieces. If you want to play with a little bit of Blackest Knight fun for set Bale, knowing that arguably it is actually a DPS gain over this set here, thanks to the latent power uptime reliability it gives you, well then this is your way to go, and for that you do need the Blackest Knight on your Gogma Artian. If you really just can't be bothered getting specific rolls on your Gogma Artian, well then this is the build for you if you still have an RNG talisman, and the RNG talisman in all cases ideally is 1 burst 3 attack, and if you don't want any RNG whatsoever, this is the build for you, and these two are also the builds to use if you are wanting to run Shatterseal and get shattering reflections going off. Hopefully then, that all makes sense, and hopefully you have enjoyed it. It's been an absolute pleasure being along the ride with you guys for this past near year of great swordness as we've gone through build after beautiful build as each new monster has made us stronger and stronger. The heights of getting the Shadowbringer greatsword and then into Shatterseal, we really have done well in base wilds. Kind of feel like we're gonna get, left behind maybe in Master Rank, but hey, that would only be fair. I, of course, cannot wait for Master Rank to do it all again with you all. I really love this community, and I feel very lucky to be a part of it, and of course, the greatsword community especially. I then wish you happy hunting your 10-star Arch-Tempered with your new greatsword builds to do it, and until next time, of course there'll be more fun and side grade stuff like crit draw, etc, but until next time, like you've enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more, consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.